Hello everyone, my name is PJ and welcome to The Void. You already know that I love Cuphead. In my 91 Let's Plays video, I gave Cuphead a 9 out of 10. It's one of my all-time favorite games. So, a few years ago when I saw that somebody was making a game that looked and played just like Cuphead, I got super excited. I was like, yay, more Cuphead! Now we're gonna enter a new world full of Cuphead likes, just like all the Souls likes and FNAF likes. People didn't really see it that way though. People apparently think that Cuphead, unlike those two other franchises that I just mentioned, is too sacred to be imitated. So shortly after it was announced, it got cancel cultured into the ground. And I remember being subscribed to the channel Zixo Games, is that how you pronounce it? Zizzo? Shisho? I don't know. And in order to watch and keep track of updates, because I knew when I saw the video showing how they made one of the minions, that they were putting some real heart into this. I wanted to see this game, but shortly after it was announced, it just kind of fell off the map. They didn't post anything, they didn't make any new YouTube videos, they didn't respond to any comments, they just disappeared. And for a long time, I thought that the cancel culture devils had succeeded. They didn't. Earlier this year, they uploaded a new video, an announcement trailer, claiming that the game was finished and that they were going to release it in September. I was pumped. And apparently, so were lots of other people. I expected more cancel culture trash to be in the comments of that video, but it was mostly positive, supportive people. They all wanted to see the game. They all are happy that the game came back and didn't just fade into obscurity. They didn't let cancel culture win. But when the game came out, it got review bombed instantly. It currently sits at a 33% on Steam, with mostly negative reviews. And I read these reviews before I played it myself, and I noticed right from the start that there were a lot of conflicting complaints. Like people saying that the game is only this many levels, or is this many levels. None of their complaints are actually consistent. But I knew, and I still wanted to play the game, that I had to play it for myself in order to see if these were just trolls, or if they were actually legitimate complaints, which I was afraid that they were legitimate, but I played the game anyway. So, here are my thoughts. For those who don't know Cuphead or what Cuphead is like, Cuphead and Enchanted Portals are both 2D platformer games that are focused mainly on big bosses with lots of phases and hit points, but also some platforming stages intermittent here and there. Enchanted Portals has a lot of differences between it and Cuphead though. Like Cuphead had an open world map, but Enchanted Portals is a linear game. You play all the levels in order. Nothing wrong with that. Lots of linear games exist. Sonic the Hedgehog, the original Mario. The default assumption for any video game with levels is that you're going to play them in order. Open worldness is a feature, not a prerequisite for being a good game. Now, the story of Enchanted Portals is that we've got two wizard apprentices named Bobby and Penny who stumble upon a book that they did not know was there. I'm assuming it's because it belongs to their master. They decide to cast some of the spells that are in the book, and when they do, they get sucked into a portal to another dimension, and it's their job to find their way home. Over the course of the adventure, they keep finding this book, which is apparently alive, scared of them and running away and constantly making new portals for them to chase it through. It's not until the very end of the game that they capture the book and force it to send them back home. This is the story explanation for why there are so many different settings and why the creatures that exist in those settings can be so wacky and varied. Like there's a world where instead of humans, it's roosters. Like everybody is a rooster. And there's also a horror-themed world, and one of the bosses seems to be a reference to that one scene from Dragon's Lair 2. I mean, the levels, the design of the levels is good, the settings are good, the bosses are good, the creativity is there, it's all good, and the bosses themselves are all fun. Like, there wasn't a single time where I died and I didn't know the reason why. And all of those reasons were that I screwed up. Like, most of the time whenever I got stuck on a boss, the solution to beating the boss was to use a mechanic that I'd been neglecting up until that point, like locking on. Some people in the reviews were complaining the levels are too long. They're not that long. They're just full of enemies, lots and lots of enemies that you do not have to kill. This game does not grade you for kills. In fact, it doesn't grade you at all. You can do as good or as bad as you want, and you can still progress in the game. These enemies don't give you any XP. They just occasionally, depending on the type of enemy, drop health. And in some levels, some enemies are guaranteed to drop health, like these perpetually respawning cop enemies in level 2-2. They always drop health. And that was a godsend the first time I played this game because I still wasn't used to it, and this level was really, really hard. So I would farm them for health, and that's how I got through it. But the second time I played through that level, I breezed right through it. In fact, I breezed through a lot of the game the second time I played. I got good. And the hitboxes for these enemies? Really fantastic. Like, they have sensible hitboxes and very forgiving hitboxes too. Like these viruses, their spike proteins don't hurt you. These spiders, they don't deal contact damage, only their attacks hurt you. And these ghost maids? Pretty sure only their broom hurts you because I swear I've gone right through them and didn't take any damage. And invincibility frames was another thing that people were complaining about before the first update. They did update the game to make invincibility last 2 whole seconds after getting hit. Personally, I feel like that's too much. I mean, I played it before the update. There were invincibility frames despite what some people said, and I thought that they were fine. Between each level, you usually get a transition, which is in the form of a slideshow of still images. Not bad. Cuphead did the same thing, but people are treating that like a negative point. And Enchanted Portals has way more of them. Another difference between this game and Cuphead is that you'll start with all of your weapons. You don't have to unlock or buy any of them. You start with all 3, and you are encouraged to constantly switch between them, because it uses an elemental weakness system. Whenever an enemy is glowing a particular color, red, green, or blue, then you use that weapon against them. The red one, which is fire, the green one, which is wind, or the blue one, which is ice. Now, the red and the blue ones are both single-shot attacks, and the blue ones seem to be slower than the red ones. I never experimented with it enough to figure out whether or not the blue ones deal more damage, but I imagine that would have to be the case. The green ones are a spread shot, and they definitely do less damage than the fire shot, which is how it should be. The game is very, very well designed. Like, structurally it works. There are no game-breaking bugs. There are no bugs that cost you a life or anything like that. No bugs that can get you stuck. I never got soft locked or anything. And the bosses were fun. The platforming stages could be a little more varied, but I mean, some of them were good. I especially like the temple level and this magma level with these frog mole things. That's probably my favorite of the platforming stages, but all of the bosses are great. Like, this is a very well put together game, and it was made by only 2 people. All of the art, music, The programming, the game design, all by 2 people. There's nobody else in the credits, just these 2. It's a good game. Like, I don't really know what people are saying when they say that it's absolute garbage. Yes, there are a few things that are actually wrong with the game. Some objective things. First of all, the big one. Not enough sound effects. This is especially noticeable in bosses like the octopus, who has this honk horn that makes an visible automatopoeia attack, but it doesn't make a sound when he uses it. There needs to be a sound. Very, very much so. The game needs more sound effects. Start with the bosses. I know you're updating this game, Zixo, so work on that next, and then make Penny playable in single player. That's not an objective thing, that's just a personal preference of mine. I would like to be able to play as Penny in single player. Lots of people would. Second big thing, these monkey enemies. They should not be despawning like this. This is a really easy fix. Just make them roll off screen. Like, fall off the platform, go off screen, and then they despawn. They should not be despawning on camera. Really simple fix. And the third big thing, which only comes up in co-op, the camera needs to follow both players. Right now, it's only fixed on whoever the first player is, and if they're dead, then it focuses on the second player. And it doesn't prevent the second player from walking off screen. That needs to be fixed. I mean, I haven't seen anybody else complain about that, probably because almost no one's playing this game co-op, but me and Tyler played it co-op all the way through, and he enjoyed it too, by the way. And that was the biggest problem, was that we had to keep his character from getting too far away from mine. But other than that, no complaints. This is a good game. And even tells, there are no cheap attacks in this game. All of the attacks in the game are, telegraphed very well. The octopus boss again, he's got this corkscrew attack where if you watch his hand, you can see him put it in the ground, and then you see a little hole appear in the ground beneath you, and then the corkscrew comes up out of the ground. These fireballs, you can see them in the lava when they're not flying up and down. Actually, that's another thing. The animation for the fireballs needs to be a little more gravity-like. You know, slow down when it reaches the top and then pick up speed as it comes back down. That needs to be adjusted just a teeny bit. So where exactly are these negative reviews coming from? Well, I have read all of the Steam reviews, the positive ones and the negative ones. There are some positive reviews who share some legitimate complaints. You know, those are fine. They're like me. They realize that the game is good and should be recommended, but it's still got some updates left to go. And the developers are updating this game. They are listening to people's feedback. But apparently that's not enough for some people. And some of these reviews, not all of the negative reviews, I'm not saying that every single person that left a bad review is doing this, but some of them are actually lies. Here are some of the reviews that I found. No tutorial? This review was posted before the update. I played it before the update as well, and I can confirm there is and always has been a tutorial level. It's the first level. You can't miss it. You can't skip it. It's right there. You didn't even play the game. And if you did play the game, then you're lying. Randomly generated levels? I've beaten this game 3 times, and I can confirm, no they are not. Maybe some enemy patterns are randomized, but the levels themselves are not. Also, what kind of complaint is randomly generated levels? If the levels in this game were randomly generated, that would kick ass. And it would suit the theme of 2 wizards haplessly falling through dimensions. Slippery controls? That's your opinion. I can control the game just fine. Before the update even. No checkpoints for 5-minute levels? Each world is divided into smaller levels, and each of those levels is only about 3 minutes long. and you get infinite lives. With the exception of World 6, which is just a 5-phase boss gauntlet, you don't need more checkpoints than what they are giving you. You start at the beginning of the level when you die, not the entire world. Stock sound effects? Dark Souls uses stock sound effects and Google imaged textures. This has been proven. The sound and texture markets just work like that. That's normal. That's expected. You can't expect somebody to invent their own pencil every time they want to write a book. No platforms? No platforms. What are these? 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 If you defend this game, you're mentally retarded. Uncapitalized sentences, missing commas, missing periods, missing apostrophe, and redundancy. I may be mentally retarded, but at least I passed the 2nd grade. Instantly refunded in 5 minutes, which just proves that you didn't give it a chance. You bought it specifically to leave a bad review. But you know what? If you children want to treat Cuphead like it's this sacred relic that cannot be imitated or even spoken of except in a hushed tone, oh, Cuphead, it's basically God. It's the God of video games. Then, whatever. You go back to your little cult. I don't want to be a part of it. I'm just going to love Cuphead and keep it as a 9 out of 10 game and one of my all-time favorites. And then I'm also going to love Enchanted Portals. Because I'll tell you one thing, Enchanted Portals made me draw this, which is the first thing that I have drawn without being paid to, in 3 months. I have been in a depressive rut for a long time, and I have not been drawing anything just for myself. Enchanted Portals inspired me to draw this. I enjoyed the game, legitimately, and I look forward to future updates and hopefully even more games from this company. And Enchanted Portals 2, like the ending alludes to, I like Enchanted Portals, so I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10, which I may even raise once more updates come out. We'll have to see. Thank you all so very much for watching. Until next time, I'll be here in the darkness, quietly awaiting your return.